So the film was absolutely amazing. It blew me away.
Oh,
and,
good.
Yeah, and you were excellent as well, but you seem to
Thanks.
spend the entire film in absolute anguish.
Yeah, pretty much.
How did it go? How did you go about preparing for that and dealing with that?
I mean, I had the luxury of working with an incredible script and a director who was so meticulously prepared that any time I felt unsure of anything, he just had so much information and so much support that it made it really easy.
In black and white, it could have been actually interpreted as almost a different and a bog standard horror in a way, but it was so much more than that when it came to life. Did you realise at an early stage that it was something special?
Yeah, I mean, reading it, there was nothing standard about it. It was very clear that it was kind of amazing, and it had a sense of originality about it, and it took its time. It was confident, it was really bold, it had something to say, and even like visually, I kind of could feel what Ari was hoping for in reading it. So it was really exciting, even for, I wasn't looking to do anything like this, and once I read it, I was like, oh, I have no choice, I'm just going to have to do this because it was that great.
Yeah. How did you go about coming up with the idea? Did you set out to actually think of the scariest thing you could possibly put in a film?
Yeah, I mean, I think anyone who endeavors to make a horror film, I mean, that's probably the first question they ask themselves is what scares me, what are my fears, and so. Yeah, the film preys on fears that certainly belong to me. I'm also just a neurotic person who's I'm hypochondriacal, and so my imagination kind of immediately goes to worst case scenarios, and so it's easy for me to work on that level.
And how about working with the youngsters?
All of the actors were so incredible on this movie. Millie, who plays my daughter, I mean, her character in itself is, all the character. The lovely thing about this film is it's so layered and so complex and so unusually real, given that it's a horror film. It isn't just gratuitously scary. It comes from a really honest place. When I first read it and I was told it was a horror film, I was like, it felt like The Ice Storm. It felt like a classic family drama, and this kind of poetic look at what it is to grieve and how it can change people. But yeah, so Millie had so many opportunities and different kind of choices that she could have made, and she was so aware. She put so much thought into it and made really, really clear decisions about how she wanted to play her character and what she would kind of give away or not give away. And but the whole cast blew me away.
Even working with the kids, I mean, how did you go about keeping them, making sure they weren't petrified through the
well, I guess my job was making sure that they were petrified, acting. But I mean, but they were great. They're great actors. Millie Shapiro and Alex Wolff are total professionals, and they knew what the film was, and ultimately they were totally game. So I didn't have to do very much. They knew what was required, and they brought it.
Were you influenced by any other filmmakers?
I mean, I'm influenced by certain filmmakers. I love movies, and one reason I'm making films is simply so I can have a dialogue with other films, right? And so there were certain films I was thinking about. I can't say that I was trying to stay away from referencing anything explicitly, but I certainly was thinking about Rosemary's Baby and Don't Look Now and The Innocents, and there are so many films I was thinking about. I mean, even when I just started, I kind of went back to the horror genre when I knew I was going to be making a horror film to see, like what were the films that I loved as a kid, and I went all the way back to, Val Lewton and, certain silent horror films.
You seem to have so much to work with as well. I can remember particularly in the sequence in the grievance, when you're with the group, you were teasing out so many bits about the character that kind of gave you so much to work with. Do you find you don't get scripts like that often? Or?
Yeah. I think, this is a direct reflection of Ari, and I think he's going to have an amazing career. I can't believe this is his first film, and I'm chuffed that he chose me to be a part of it. But actors want an opportunity to go for it and to, really sink their teeth into something meaty, and this was all of those things. That particular scene, we shot it, it was my first week. I think I'd been shooting for a couple of days, and we started that scene at like 2 in the morning. And not only was it like challenging to work when you should be asleep, but it was really intense, emotional, specific stuff. And that was the first time Ari and I had a certain feeling about it, and he just kept like pushing me to do it a slightly different way. And I didn't quite, it felt really uncomfortable, which probably helped the scene. But yeah, it was an interesting one in that it had inherent difficulties, but it really kind of highlighted what he wanted in general, in a way, you know.
Do you think you would always want to work in horror, or are you hoping to move out?
No, the next film I'm making is a horror film, but beyond that, I consider myself a genre filmmaker, and I love all genres. I would love to make a musical, and most of what I had done before Hereditary, scripts that I'd written and shorts that I'd made have been in the dark comedy space. So I plan on playing in as many sandboxes as I can.
The reason I ask is that I don't know how it could possibly get any scarier than that. It seemed to build throughout and get more frightening as it went on, and it was almost just like the anticipation in these films is always more scarier than the payoff, but not in this case, which I found was rare. So, what kind of horror would you make next if you're?
Well, the horror film I am making next is less supernatural, and it's more rooted in, the fear of one's neighbor.
Can you see yourself wanting to work more in horror, or do you see much more of a future for it?
I don't think this is a typical horror film, and I'm not a fan of horror films, so no would be the answer.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.
Hey